Greetings, this is Vane and welcome back to Let's Play the Elder Scrolls Arena. Okay, we are in the Crypt of Hearts. So, now, I don't, well, let's get this right. I would say I don't normally want to go that way. Talk politics, but I talked politics a little bit recently. Fortunately, the biggest issue that I'm facing these days is about the rise of transphobia, particularly in the Labour Party. I mean, it's not a new thing. I mean, I've been highlighting the issue of transphobia in the Labour Party for over 5 years now. So, I mean, even under Jeremy Corbyn's reign, if you are, under his leadership, probably the better term. I mean, the scale of it, it's like, well, you had all this anti-Semitism stuff going on, and it's like, I don't know about anti-Semitism. But I do know that I've experienced transphobia. So the issue of discrimination in general is something that's an issue. But I understand, like everything else, actual issues are being swept aside for whatever can be weaponised against Corbyn, hence the anti-Semitism. And effectively describing the whole party as anti-Semitic. Now, using that logic, the logic of Starmer and the riots, having experienced transphobia means that the entire Labour Party is transphobic, and that's not fair. That's not fair at all. But there is an issue with transphobia in the Labour Party. You know, as I may have mentioned before various times, I mean, I don't normally talk about it, but I mean, with events as they are today, it's become increasingly more important that I do. I mean, to most of the people on this channel, I'm just a voice, an exceptionally male voice. So most people think I'm male, and to be honest, that doesn't really bother me. You know, I did take some speech therapy because speech therapy is useful to... Hang on a minute, we're nowhere near down the bottom where it should be. Okay. Yeah, I did take some speech therapy to kind of... the idea is to teach you how to speak like a woman so you can pass, because apparently women have a higher voice and you can manipulate that. Manipulate being the correct word, by simply practicing to change your vocal cords. The problem is I decided not to do that. It just got... Things are hard enough as it is. I don't need to be worrying about modulating my voice just to be able to pass. Which, in truth, doesn't really matter now anyway. It doesn't help that quite often I have a very croaky voice anyway, so it doesn't matter if I'm trying to present as female or not when I'm speaking, simply because my voice doesn't let me, and I can't be bothered to put in the extra cognitive effort it needs for me to be able to practice and maintain having a feminine voice. And the reality is, being trans has never really bothered me. I've changed when I changed my name and everything else, and did it all, which I did 15 years ago. I noticed people started treating me differently, started treating me better. To be honest, and when I started taking hormones, well, I started feeling better too. So in my mind, me being trans doesn't really mean anything. I mean, I'm happy, and pretty much all that matters. Fortunately, I knew 5 years ago, I saw this coming. I knew there would be issues, and I highlighted it. And well, I was much more of a presence on social media back about 5 years ago. And now my only social media is pretty much YouTube. And that's only because I do Let's Plays. And like I said, I don't do that much politics on here. But I do use these Let's Plays to as a sort of audio log, just to talk about things, issues that come up, that sort of thing. Because I find what happens is when you play these games, and I do these Let's Plays, I can often end up in a kind of meditative sense of just going through the motions of the game. You know, I don't have to donate a lot of, I don't have to, I don't have to put a lot of cognitive effort into maintaining and doing these games. So it frees up the space to do other things, and I can think about things and process and stuff like that. So yeah. The thing that's come up recently is, thanks to Nicola Sturgeon, who was the leader of the Scottish Nationalist Party, and the leader of the Scottish Parliament, they passed an act about transgender rights, basically giving the right of self-ID. Basically means that you don't have to go through the process I did. Which basically involves waiting on a waiting list for almost 2 years, including a short period of living as a woman, just to prove your commitment. Which is seen very much as a a requirement to be able to get any sort of therapeutic support. check my potions of healing when I'm done. Don't want to be running out of those. That won't be good at all. Find somewhere to rest as well soon. So yeah. In the middle of the sea of lava stands a temple. You can see its rune-inscripted walls shimmering in the heats. Okay. So yeah. And one of the aspects of the bill was that it extended this right of self-identification to 16 and 17-year-olds. Now the big argument that's given by a lot of transphobic feminists, trans-exclusionary radical feminists, or TERFs. They don't like being called that, but that's what they are. Maybe it's the radical bit that gets them. But they're essentially transphobic feminists who turn around and say that trans rights are not women's rights. And I don't get that at all. That is totally not the case. That's just sheer transphobia. I mean, yeah, it's been enshrined in law, not just in the UK, but in the US. I am so glad I am not in the US. Basically. It's hard enough in the UK, but I don't tend to let being trans bother me because it's not a big part of my identity. It's something that's happened, something that I did, and I'm happy that I did it. I'm happy that I've changed my gender, that's it. That's about the extent of how I care about my being trans. But other people do sometimes have an issue with it. So which is on them. It's totally on them. There's no doubt about it. Anyway, so that was the bill that was put forth by the Scottish Parliament. they supported trans rights, and then basically Rishi Sunak, the UK Prime Minister, playing politics, decided to veto the bill. Basically turn around and say, you can't do that, you're not allowed. It goes beyond your powers of the Scottish Parliament. The sad thing is that in order to curry favour with these TERFs, for want of a better term, like J.K. Rowling, and even she has turned around and said she knew she was going to upset people, she was going to upset trans people with her views. She just didn't care. Her views, which are based entirely off the fact of her fear of trans women in female spaces. So it's the literal definition of transphobia, yet they're denying it. You know, trans women can be trans women, just not in our spaces. So essentially, it's basically transphobic feminists gatekeeping on who is and isn't women, who is and isn't a woman, basically. And they're basing that on, and this is the irony, whether or not you were born with a vagina. Or more accurately, let's put it this way, whether or not you were born with a penis. That was it. That's it. You know, it's like, well, isn't that what they do? Well, yeah, because babies can't speak about their gender. Gender is... People dismiss gender identity, but gender identity develops, and it's been shown to develop, when children reach 3 years of age, around that time. It's around that time when being male or female kind of cements in their head, and a lot of that is to do because we do it with babies. We colour code our babies. It's that simple. We colour code babies. Pink for a girl, blue for a boy, yellow if for neutral. You know, it's all colour coding. Because in our language, we do define between men and women, even when it's not relevant. I mean, the irony is that it's got to the point that that male pronouns have been neutered a lot because they're neutral, but it's still seen as exclusionary. So a lot the default for pronouns for text and that is usually he. And it's based on the assumption that it's to exclude women. But the truth is, it's just shorter. 2 letters versus 3. You know, And when you're paying by the letter, as printing was back in the day, when you had to do manual typesetting, you know, it was always easier to do he rather than she. I mean, another thing is literally that when we say he and we say she, in language it literally just means man and not man. You know? And you can see that pretty much in the way we think. Because in a heteronormative society, apparently it's important to know whether the other person, you know, the other person is female and therefore shaggable. Let's put no bones on it. That's what it's about. It's what everything's about. It's about sex and heteronormative and basically it's all heteronormative simply because it's how most people think. Most people are straight. So most people think heteronormatively. So the fear for some women is that anyone perceived as a man getting into male spaces is basically there just to shag. Just to shag women. They're going to assault women, that's it. Because that's what men do. It's a very, very discriminatory approach. But yeah, that's the fear. That somehow women's spaces will be invalidated if trans men, which certain people basically see as men in dresses with their transphobic views, are allowed into women's only spaces. You know, feminism is obsessed with the patriarchy, and apparently trans women are just men in dresses that are stooges to the patriarchy. It's like, hang on a minute, you know. Anyway, so all this is going on. Rishi Sunak has decided to veto it, and Keir Starmer basically said, for no reason, you know, that he's supporting the veto. So the bill got repealed. Now, for Keir Starmer to say that, bearing in mind transphobia is an issue with the Labour Party, means it's almost impossible for him to deny that he's transphobic. He says it's because children, i.e. anyone under the age of 16, well, not 16. 16, he says 16 and 17-year-olds are too young to make the decision about their gender. Which is absolute bullcrap. Because teenagers, including 16 and 17-year-olds, is exactly when you're supposed to discover your gender. It's all part of being a teenager. You know? Oh, that's gonna cut. That's gonna be annoying. And one of the, I mean, we've cut education back, so that kind of social and personal development just doesn't exist anymore. But Terry Pratchett said it right. There's no point teaching children to be children. They're already naturally good at it. The whole point of childhood is to explore. And basically to learn to become an adult. Unfortunately, we live in a society where many adults don't know how to be an adult, let alone teach their children. And you can see that in a lot of the fear that's being about. You know, and it's the irony. The irony is like, you know, oh, we want children of innocence, let them have their whatever. It's like the whole point of childhood is to grow up and to learn how to be an adult. That is the whole point. Yeah. We're so scared of letting our children grow up that we deny them of the very thing that they're supposed to be doing. How did what? Okay. Don't know what's happening there, but never mind. Now you're on fire. Okay then. So yeah, I am going to leave it here. This has been Vane doing Let's Play Elder Scrolls Arena. If you like what you're seeing here, be sure to like, subscribe, share and comment. Please consider sponsoring me on Patreon, and until next time, goodbye.